Oh. Why is everything blurry? That's better.
Welcome to the Footy Museum and the Footy Museum podcast. I am Justin, frozen to my chair, waiting, co-director of this here Footy Museum, where the pipes have just frozen, and I've called in co-director of the Footy Museum, Maria Van Dyken Lee, to assess the problem. Maria, what do you think the problem is?
The problem is you didn't winterize.
Oh, no.
Home ownership 101, winterize your pipes.
I did not, and I didn't leave the basement faucet running. And now our complete
mistake.
collection of Dallas Burn memorabilia has been destroyed. Moment of silence. All right. Speaking of memories, this week we saw the passing of Franz Beckenbauer. Franz Beckenbauer, obviously famous German footballer, former coach of the German national team, but most famously, star of the New York Cosmos. Are you familiar with this man?
I'm actually not.
Oh my gosh.
I saw everywhere that he had passed away, but I
one
don't
of
know
the giants of the game. And it made me think about when the soccer league in the 70s tried to kick off in the US with big name stars and they were selling out baseball stadiums. He was a huge signing right alongside this man, Pele. They were kind of the stars of this star-studded team, the Cosmos. And it was really sad that he passed. But it also made me think about the current situation, because this photo has been floating around where we have Luis Suarez has joined his former teammates and current teammates at Inter Miami. And I'm like, have things really changed? Because the New York Cosmos and the entire NASL were very short-lived because they heavily invested on these stars. They went bankrupt and it died, and soccer entered dark ages. But you would think after years and decades later of slowly building Major League Soccer, we would move away from the format of aged superstars holding up the entire league. And then I saw this picture and I just wonder what's going on. And then in the same day, we got this message from the Chicago Fire that said, "We are turning to you, our fans, to help us get some new ideas on how to make game day experience more exciting." One thing I might suggest to them is don't use promo pictures that are filled with Miami fans, which is what this one is from the Miami game.
Is that person wearing a Miami kit?
That's why it's blurred, perhaps.
Yeah, why didn't they have endless resources and photos?
Because that's the only time the stadium's been full for a Fire game.
Choose a close-up.
Did you get this? Did you get this request in any of your feeds?
In my, I think I skimmed by it. I probably saw it. Yeah, I don't know. I think to me this image isn't very impactful, so I probably just...
Yeah, it was from a video.
Oh, okay.
But it made me wonder, I went through and there asked, like, what would make the environment at Soldier Field better, blah, blah. And I thought I would pose that question to you, maybe specifically for the Fire, but more broadly for MLS, because here we are, 50 years after Franz Beckenbauer played in the U.S., and we have the same format once again reemerging, and everyone's behind it. Like, what's your take? You're fairly new to MLS.
Yeah. How to improve stadium atmosphere in MLS,
or maybe the league in general. I was thinking
about this in relation to going to see the Cubs. Right, which is a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the whole city.
Formerly the Whales. I am wearing a Chicago Whales sweatshirt.
I didn't know that.
Well, not formerly Whales, but the Wrigley Field was actually built for the team, the Chicago Whales. And the Cubs were their second.
No way.
Yeah, I have this. Let's see if I can see.
Yeah, I didn't know that. When was that?
Here's the Whales crest.
Oh, that's cute.
This is a great sweatshirt from free advertisement. Ebbets Field, they make great vintage stuff.
Ooh.
I don't know. That's all I know is their name and that they were before the. This is a soccer podcast, not a baseball podcast. Anyway, so you're saying you're thinking of the Cubs.
No, I think one of the things that we do that is fun is we try and come dressed in sports shirts.
Yeah, we try.
Athletic shirts. I'm actually wearing one today too. It is layer 3.
Yes.
So
it's because it is negative 12 degrees out, and I only turned the heat on in the studio 10 minutes ago. And we have to turn it off for heating, so it is negative 12 outside and negative 10 inside. The camera may just freeze up at any minute.
I'll give you $10 if you can guess what team I'm sporting.
Leeds.
No.
Chicago Fire.
No.
The City High Pegasus.
No.
I don't know.
I've worn this one before, but it is my true vintage, individual wrestling high school state champs from like 2000, the year 2000.
Oh.
Vintage 2000. Can you believe that?
I lost that bet. Now, I will bet you $5 that if you stick your tongue on your mic stand, it'll stick.
I'm not taking that bet because I believe it's true too. Okay, so I was thinking about this question in comparison to
the Cubs.
Cubs and what makes that atmosphere great. And what I think actually really the biggest thing is just the buy-in from the city and the suburbs and people in the area who are Cubs fans. And part of that is accessibility, not just at the stadium, but on TV. So you can be a Cubs fan and watch casually on TV and not have to get a subscription service.
Low bar for entry.
Very low bar for entry.
I would argue that format has been tried with soccer for numerous seasons, as early as last season of them being on WGN. So
I don't know.
I think maybe it's that combined with winning. Winning
is a big thing too.
That's a Chicago thing because
there was a Cubs resurgence when they won the World Series. Suddenly everybody was on the bandwagon again.
Well, in that environment, people go because it's like one of the last remaining old baseball stadiums.
That's true.
It's fun. It's in a neighborhood. The two stadiums that the Fire bounce between are like
they're not in neighborhoods.
And I don't know the people of Bridgeview. They may be wonderful, but as a location for a stadium, there's not a lot to do, and it's not close. It's like it's almost an hour away, and it feels not happy at times.
Yeah.
The parking Soldier Field
is not great.
Is beautiful. The lake is beautiful, but the way that area is designed with Lakeshore Drive kind of closing it off.
But that's why I think the thing about Wrigley Field is that the game does spill out into the neighborhood.
Exactly,
like you said, like all the bars you can go or sit at rooftop bars, watch the game. It feels more casual. It feels more like a family thing.
Yeah.
So like friend groups and families will go do this thing, or like people visiting the city, they'll say, let's catch an afternoon game.
Yeah, it's just an event.
It's just a thing. And you know what else is great? Is that you can order hot dogs to your seat. I'm just saying.
I think that the other issue goes back to them not owning Soldier Field. So like, I'm sure they can't put QR codes on to scan to have delivery. They don't do TIFOs, and I don't know if that's tied in to them not being allowed to by Soldier Field. There's no capo stand for the supporters group. When that place, like we were joking about the Miami game, but when it was full, it was
great.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Awesome. But I don't know. On a day-to-day, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of energy. And even from the staff that work on the team, there's not a lot of interest. And I think they've been struggling for so long. It kind of permeates. And then you have the old school fans who've been around forever and who I think are a little bitter because they've seen it go from like one of the best teams to a perennial bottom dweller. And that kind of frustrated energy, I think, puts off newer fans. So I don't know. And this off season hasn't been a great hope because they keep all their signings have been, we've brought in Schmorgas Nobodyberg. It's like, oh great. Schmorgas Nobodyberg for our defense. We need a striker. Oh. And I would say MLS in general, I think some places have the great atmosphere. But I think that streaming issue, you're right. I hadn't thought about that. I think that's a real
combined
issue.
with winning, you're right about that too. Because if people are like, oh, this team, that's a Chicago team, it's winning and it's on TV.
Yeah.
And you can just flip it on or you can see it at a bar.
Or, hey, Messi's coming to play in Chicago and I can watch a game and, hey, maybe I didn't want to spend $1,000 a seat, but I could get involved behind the team.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way all sports are going. I know one of the NFL playoff games was streamed only on Peacock for the first time ever.
I saw something about that too.
I don't follow it. I don't watch NFL, but I read, because soccer fans are like, oh, we've been dealing with that forever. You steal all our glory, even our complaining glory. But so we'll see. I'm still excited, but I thought it was interesting. And
I have one more suggestion too.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
Blimps. They need blimps.
Ooh. What if one blimp just like right over the opening, like they could park it so it's an all-weather stadium. Just have it over like 2 feet over the opening of Soldier Field.
And they'll throw hot dogs down to you so you don't have to leave your seat.
My biggest, the hot dog thing, one thing that really bugged me last year, the game after the Miami game, my daughters and I also went to that game, and it was Fan Appreciation Night. And for Fan Appreciation Night, one of the big things they're pushing was there are $5 hot dogs available. $5 hot dogs was their fan appreciation. That is ridiculous. And these are not good Chicago hot dogs.
They're not like good. They're just there.
They should be $1 all the time. And that, so I think, I don't know. I think that I'd say number one, winning. 2, look like you care. Look like you care. Some consistency. And really supporters groups in terms of allowing them to do tifos and getting some chants that are easy to chant. The fire chants are so awkward.
And screaming fire in a closed stadium.
Yeah, isn't that illegal?
Yeah.
Like a simple,
it is, right?
Like if I did C, you did H, I did I, and then we did fire. That's like, back like every MLS stadium. So it just seems like a lot of things can't just get going. Yeah. But I think if they did win and did get it going, the city's ready.
Jeremy had never been to a Major League Baseball game before.
Oh.
And this summer, my parents brought him and I to one, and the Cubs ended up winning. And I didn't tell him about Go Cubs Go. And I just saw it when they won. And everyone just stood up and knew all the words. He was like...
Meanwhile, he probably knows all the songs for... was he a Madrid fan?
No, Barcelona. I don't know if he knows
Barcelona. That, well, those are our ideas.
Yeah.
If you have any follow-up Chicago Fire, please find us at info@thefootymuseum.com. I would suggest to the Fire, because you're sporadic in your podcasting abilities, that Maria and I would volunteer to be the voices of the Fire.
We'd be the voices of the Chicago Fire.
That's right.
Let me get my uniform on.
This could be the weekly podcast. Here we go.
Oh, we would take
the Footy
much
Museum,
more pro-fire
Chicago
stance.
Fire. What would we call it? Footy Fire?
Footy Fire.
That sounds kind of like
athlete's foot. Well, that could be a segment on Footy Fire.
Yeah, we could be sponsored by Dr. Scholl's or something like that.
Yeah, or what's the one where the
Preparation H?
where the fungus lifts up the thumb, the toenail, and then moves in.
That could be our mascot. Our sponsor. We do the weekly thing. You listen to us, are great. So we'll look for that. We'll look for that note from
email.
Chicago Fire.
FootyMuseum.com.
And we look forward to being the voice of your Chicago Fire.
Fire, fire.
Fire, 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 fire. Do you think whoever wrote that keyboard only had FIRE and they were like, I'm going to do a chant?
I think it was AI generated. I think that's what that was early AI.
Man. I know they have more elaborate ones they used to do, but the thing is, it's hard to keep up if you don't know. They should hand out the lyrics to
Yeah. They could text out the lyrics, or they could put them on the big screen.
With giant screens. One thing they have is giant screens.
They just stop putting all the players on the giant screens and just put song lyrics on there.
Speaking of Jeremy's favorite team, they were soundly beaten in the Spanish Super Cup this week. Super Cup. Another week, another Super Cup. And as tradition dictates, the Super Cup was played in a 25,000 seat stadium in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
As is tradition, yes. The traditional
reminds
Spanish
me of our
Super
Girona
Cup.
podcast, just dripping with history. That's got to be so tough on fans.
Yeah.
Because think you're a local, your family has followed Barcelona or Madrid their entire life because it's your hometown team. You have the top two teams from the previous season competing for the Super Cup. I think that's how they break it down. Is that how it gets broken down? I don't know. And you have to go to Saudi Arabia? That's crazy.
We always, like European soccer, we always love that it feels so hyper local.
Yeah.
And that's like the opposite.
That's the future.
Opposite.
Did you watch this game?
I didn't watch this game.
It was very lopsided.
Oh,
very lopsided.
Great.
I think Barcelona is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, apparently their management is just terrible.
Another tournament in a unusual location, not the first time, is the Asian Cup is occurring in Qatar. And that's also a large tournament going on. There are several Premier League players there, as are there. Oh, also interesting thing about the Asian Cup. It's also the 2023 Asian Cup, just like AFCON is the 2023 version. Because once it was awarded to Qatar, they're like, you know what? With the hot summers, we're going to do it in winter, just like the World Cup. I think that they saw AFCON and were like, you know what? You can do 23 and 24. Let's do that. Because it's a whole nother year to play.
Probably. I was a little procrastination after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody wanted to take a little break.
Do you know how you go? My daughter loves to shop, and we go to different stores. And there's a trend now, sweatshirts that just say random city names or places. Doesn't matter what city you're in. Like we'll go to a store in Chicago and she'll buy a New York or a Paris sweatshirt, or like maybe dates. That's going to be the thing with dates now. Maybe tournaments are just going to have dates based on like what's cool. Like
feelings.
Yeah. The next World Cup's dates. Like the 1989 World Cup sponsored by Taylor Swift or something like that. AFCON kicked off.
Sounds great. Let's do it. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Just do them based on Swift albums. She has proven her power in sports, people. MLS, you want to fix MLS? Hook Taylor Swift up. There's a lot better looking people than Travis Kelce who play soccer. I'm just going to say.
It seems like they really like each other, though. So I just want them to be happy.
They're just normal people.
They're just normal billionaires.
Leave them alone. So AFCON kicked off. These are some scenes from the amazing opening ceremony.
That's gorgeous.
Oh, it was. And they had these, you can kind of see it in the smaller picture, these amazing floating, I don't know what you would call them. I would guess, I want to say puppets. That's not the right term. But beautiful. And the first game, Ivory Coast came out flying, scored an amazing early goal. The atmospheres there are fantastic. Yeah. It feels like World Cup level pitch, if not higher. There's been some...
The Ivory Coast game, the energy was a little bit higher than the others, which makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
Home team.
So it's exciting going on. I think so far there's been some surprises. I think Egypt drew or lost their...
They drew their first match. That game was crazy.
So you have Sling? You've been able to... I haven't only been watched highlights. Okay.
But it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the highlights reels have been good.
And this is much better because I have to say the Premier League games this weekend, I watched some of that Manchester United game. That was the worst atmosphere in the world. It was just like having like a sad game in Sad Town. It was like this. It was just.
I don't know. It was they were a little boring, and I couldn't catch Leeds game because the stream kept on cutting in and out, and I don't know if it was the weather or what.
It was for England standards. It was pretty cold there this week, and it seemed like they were all a little down. Although the City Newcastle game was bonkers.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, it looked like it was going to end up a draw, and then of course, City.
That's right.
Because a young man named Kevin De Bruyne
was back. I was saying, I had to be reminded, but I was like, now I remember. So when he comes on and scores in 5 minutes. And just passing into the goal. That was crazy. And I was saying,
the new haircut.
It is. You grew it out. It looks good.
Looks like my 1995 high school senior portrait.
Congratulations, because it's nice look.
But it wasn't actually from 95. That's just the year I chose. That's just the style. I'm not going to say what year it was. And it was in Paris.
I was thinking, like, he's such a quiet guy. He's not flashy or anything.
No.
And imagine, like, being kind of like, you know, the hot shot of City. Everyone, like, loves you. Everyone's like, oh, De Bruyne. And then Holland comes along and he's like Mr. Flashy Pants.
Yeah.
And you end up getting injured and Mr. Flashy Pants ends up not doing as well. And then Mr. Flashy Pants gets injured and you come in for 5 minutes and then you're like, everyone's like,
remember
he's
me?
the best.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of make him feel really nice inside.
That's so nice for City. Meanwhile, Everton facing additional financial issues along with Forest. No word yet on what's going on with the over 100 charges for City. So maybe enjoy it for now. But I think when we look back, the main story of the season may be just scandal over there. And I think the sad part, this newest financial issue with Forest and Everton is that they've lost more than they're allowed to. What's this? That's such a sad way to like be penalized. Their losses are higher.
Explain it again.
I'd have to read, but I think it's that their losses are higher than what are allowed, which means which comes down to they're spending more than they should have, right? But to be potentially penalized because you're losing so much is just very British. So a lot of stuff going on. It's cold. Anything else from this weekend, or is that enough from our?
It's back to Suarez.
Let me see if I can find that image. So there he is. Oof.
Okay, so
look at all those old knees. That's all. When I saw the picture, I'm like, oh man, those look like my knees. This team's in trouble.
Yeah, but he's like describing himself as like he has to get injections into his knee before every game. Like,
oh my God.
Like he's taking pain pills before every game just so he can run. He like can't play, just pick up soccer with his son. He like that's how bad the pain in his leg is. And he's still just going for it with this MLS retirement for one season. But
well, it is just one season. It's his farewell.
Yeah.
What's your guess on percentage of games this man actually plays?
I think he'll play like the last 15 minutes of every game.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking more season wise. I'm gonna say like 30% of the season.
30%.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing that he said about this that I thought was really charming was he described the rival between Miami and Orlando as El Clasico.
No.
And he's like, I'm excited
Maria,
for El Clasico.
You misunderstood. That is a pizza restaurant between Orlando and Miami that all the players hang out. El Clasico. He's a big fan. He's excited about El Clasico.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Okay.
Orlando, Miami as El Clasico. First of all, they are very far apart. They're very far apart. And that is just sweet. I think he's in for a shock.
I mean, that's the kind of thing we need to just view this league with this kind of reverence that.
But there are real rivalries in this. But there are real rivalries in this country. Like, I feel like St. Louis and Chicago should be in the same division because the towns hate each other.
St. Louis, Chicago, even Minneapolis.
Oh yeah,
right? Shouldn't Chicago?
And then bring up Detroit and the Milwaukee team. There should be regional. Okay, we're going broader into MLS. There should be regional divisions, conferences that play their whole season, and then there should be a super league of the conferences.
Yeah,
that's the playoffs. Because if every game was like, I'm going to Milwaukee, I'm going to Green Bay, I'm going to Detroit, I'm going.
Because that's who we care about.
Yeah, we know people. We know why we hate that place.
Yeah, because my brother lives there.
Oh, we could have
those loons.
The Grand Rapids Crusaders.
Oh my goodness.
I had worse in mind. I did. The 28th Streeters. No, knowing Grand Rapids where we're from, they're not very imaginative in naming. They'd be called the Grand Rapids soccer team.
Isn't that what they were called when they did have a professional?
They were Grand Rapids FC. They're building a stadium downtown.
Really? For soccer?
I'm wondering if something else is in the works. So,
well,
but I agree.
They'd probably just be like the Grand Rapids Calders or something. Was there
the art prizes? Frederick Meyer Garden's team. What else? the Amway.
The Myers. The
Myers.
Grand Rapids Myers.
Grand Rapids. Well, that's not bad, actually. Anyway, the Furniture Hounds.
They don't make furniture there anymore.
No, not even. Anyway.
They'd go with like, they wouldn't Google first and they would go with Brewers without realizing that that's already a team.
We solved MLS, we solved Chicago Fire, and we touched on all the amazing tournaments going on. We will be back later this week, and the forecast says it's going to be just as cold, so I'm going to wear the exact same thing.
Yeah, I might add a layer.
Yep. And my friends, that's the story of football.